All right, my dear student. Yeah, like I was telling your peers in the other class, you see, this term is very short, right? Very, very short. And you got a lot of work to do. Because at the end of the today, we're in July, right? August, September. You are going to write an internal exam, of which that internal exam is going to be based on whatever we'll be doing from the term one to the last, from Genesis to Revelation. But remember, I've covered the whole scheme of work, the whole syllabus. I've done with the curriculum, right? So you need to make sure you come here every day. I'm going to be doing revision. I'm going to post past question paper to you, post it in a WhatsApp group so that you can be able to start revising. Remember, the first time what I did, I sent you question and answers from the book. Remember, there are certain activities in the group. So what I did was that I sent you the answers, the questions and answers. I think that one can help you as well, right? So guys, when you are coming in, don't drag the chairs on the floor. Do you hear? Hello? Yeah. Do you hear what I said? Don't drag the chair on the floor. Please. Please, man. I said, please. You're coming late. And you must have to be apologetic about it and don't disturb others. Please, man. Sit down quietly. Right. Okay. Noted. Sit down quietly so that we can move. I said, please. Ella, sit down quietly. All right. At this point in time, as I was saying, we need to know that there are a lot of stuff that we need to do, right? Like I said, you got an internal exam to write, which is coming up in September, early September. It could be late August or early September, thereabout, as the case may be. We must prepare for it, right? It covers the whole work for the year. Then you've got an assignment, we call it ISET. It's a kind of summative task, cumulative, of all what you'll be doing from term 1 to 4. Remember, this is a vocational study, right? Being vocational, we need to do much of practical, right? So that asset is a kind of more or less practical or practically simulated to align with that requirement, that practical requirement of your study, right? So the task or the asset, as you may call it, if you will, is coming. We need to do that. So you need to brace up yourself. Make sure you don't stay away from the class. Be coming to class lectures every time. With that, you're not gonna miss out. Don't stay away. All right. Okay. Today, I choose to review the past question papers, specifically the one you wrote last term. Although you tried, you did your best, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that we cannot review it. Even if you got 100%, we still have to consolidate on that 100%. If you got 20%, no one of you got 20%, right? When you got 20%, it's not the end of the world, right? Don't look down on yourself. you can still make it. There is always room for an improvement. You know about that. Everything depends on ourselves, depends on you. You can always improve. Like I said, if your marks are high in the task, if you are obtaining good marks in the task, it will position you in such a way that you're not gonna fail. Your highest mark at the end of the year or at the end of the year will still be reasonable, right? Because test got the weight of the test is not so high compared to the task. So if I see you are not pulling weight in the task, I will call you to represent, to do another one, right? So with that, I think we can be able to make up. Right. Okay, very good. Now let's go to the questions. I didn't want to start with multiple questions because multiple questions are easy, man, right? Okay, perhaps I can use it to discuss a lot of stuff. Okay, here we said, which of the following is not part of the marketing mix? Hey, man, we've done marketing mix over and over again to the extent now that it's like a hymn. You know, a hymn, a song that no matter what you're doing, no matter where you are, no matter what state you are, when somebody asks you of the marketing means, you know what we are talking about. Marketing means are the strategies that you as a businessman or as an entrepreneur can juggle around with in order to position you in your market, in the business, such a way that you can be able to outwit your competitors. What do I mean by outwit? To shine more than your competitor. You see, it's like a soldier fighting in the battlefield. The missiles that you gave that soldier with the AK-47, that is what he's going to use to conquer. Can you send a soldier to the war front without a gun? You can't. Because obviously that soldier gonna be killed, right? If you are a business person and you are not making use of the marketing means, the days of your business is numbered, right? Which means you're gonna collapse. It will close, right? So the marketing means, if I may go back again to explain it in terms of how you need to use it as well. For example, the product. You need to make sure that your product, for example, is of good quality. Of course, it has to be of good quality, right? You must make sure that in terms of satisfying, meeting the needs of the customer, it got that capability, right? For example, there are certain customers that doesn't have much money. You must make sure that you are able to serve a diverse customer, range of customer. Let me put it this way, diverse range of customer. For example, you see Coca-Cola, right? You got big bottle, you got a small bottle, family size, right? If you are, if your need is based on family size or the bigger ones, instead of you buying a small bottle, then you buy a bigger one. For example, you want to buy cool drink for your family, right? And you've seen the price for 20 liters, maybe 25 rand. Then each small bottle is 7 rand, right? When you work it out, you see that that big bottle will be able to serve you more better and make you to save money. You would like to buy that big bottle, right? So if that one is not there and you don't have money to buy for every one of your family, it will make you to be constrained. It will put you in kind of a situation that you will not be able to satisfy your needs. Right. So if there is any brand or maybe any juice that you see that got a big bottle of such that you can buy to save money and be able to quench the thirst among the members of your family, you're gonna go and buy that one, which is obvious. So your product needs to be designed or manufactured or presented in such a way that it can be able to stand out. Let me use that language. It's very important. To stand out more than that your competitor. Right. You should make sure that your product got the features that will make the customer say, I'm not going to buy this one, I'm gonna buy this. Do you understand what I mean? That is what we are talking about in the real sense of it. Then the price, of course, there are certain people that look at the prices of things to make decisions. There are people that got backs. When they look at the price is cheap, they will say, this one is not for me. It depends on their target market. If your target market is people that got money, don't give them nonsense low price. Don't furnish them or supply them goods that are of low quality because they will tell you not for me, right? In the same vein, there are people that don't have much. They look at the prices before making decision. They look at prices that are moderate, reasonable. So you must make sure that you charge or you cost your product, you sell your product in such a way that your customers can afford, right? Then we have promotion. Of course, we got different types of promotional strategy. Do you understand what I mean? For you to make your product to stand out, right? For example, you can even go away or go by way of providing discounts, right? 50% off. You will see the long queue from here to Vincent. When you say 50% off, you will see that people that were not originally interested before they're going to be interested. What is creating that rat race is because there is a discount, is a promotion. Like I told you at the time, one certain point in time, that when I want to buy my pets, I like my product, right? I always go and check whether there is a promotion. Whenever I see there is a promotion, I buy it, right? You see, if there is no promotion, sometimes I ask them, say, any good deal today? Now they know me. When I go there, I say, any nice stuff, you know? You see, what it means is that whenever there is promotion, it motivates me to shoot out money to buy. There are certain people like that. Right. Promotion doesn't limit itself to that practice of giving a discount, 50% discount. Promotion could be in form of creating awareness for your product, right? Sometimes it happens when you go to Pick and Pay or some of these shops, you see that they will put a small table, right, in front of the shop, and on top of it, they will display certain items. Have you seen something like that? Maybe you go to a shop, you see, they will have a big table. Then on top of that table, they put certain items. Sometimes the prices could be discounted, sometimes they are not discounted. Have you ever asked yourself, what is the purpose of doing this? Why are they putting this in, displaying it on the table, close to the entrance, so that me and you can see it, rather than displaying those stuff in the shelf where they're supposed to be? There is a purpose of doing that. It's a kind of a promotion. They want me and you to see it. It's a kind of a promotion to display the product, to create awareness that we got something of this nature. Right? You can as well do that. Depends on the type of business you are doing and depends on the context. You can even promote your business via what? Social media, right? Facebook, to create awareness of your product. Do you understand what I mean? So these are some of the marketing strategy, if you will, you call it the marketing mix, or as I used to call it, the arsenal that a business person, entrepreneurs could use, you know, in making sure that whatever type of business, product, or services that he or she is rendering stand out among more than others in a competitive business environment. Business environment is very competitive, right? You need to make sure that you stand out for you to be able to survive it. Right. So when you look at the options that were presented before you, product, of course, is part of the marketing mix. Price, without any doubt. Promotion, yes. So the only odd man out here, the only odd here, if spotting the difference, is the product. It's the project. Project is not a marketing mix. Does it make sense to you? Okay. Look at this other question. Stakeholder has an in the business specific price is called, right. We know what is stakeholders, right? What is a stakeholder? Yeah, you see, quickly talking about an interest. So with that, you don't need to scratch your head about this. Okay, any question? Where have you been? I was missing you. Where have you been? Yeah. I hope, did you pass the subject? Okay. All right. So that is a form of ownership that has unlimited. Guys, I'm going to explain this one to you exhaustively because I remember we couldn't have time to explain it in the class. Then I say you must revise it. No, you must read it for your exam. Form of ownership. So when you've registered a business or you are running a business, it can fall among these categories. Right. Close corporation. We used to call it those days CC. In South Africa, there is nothing like close corporation again. Right? When you want to register a business those days, for example, mostly one man's business. You know what I mean by one man's business? Sole proprietorship. Right? Then you go to the Department of Trade and Industry. They used to call it CIPRO, Company Intellectual Property Registration Office. It's no longer CIPRO. They call it CIPC, right? Company Intellectual Property Corporation. Then you go there to incorporate your business, to register your business, right? So small business those days used to fall under close corporation. Small business, right? Could be one man's business or whatever. So we don't have that concept is no longer in use in South Africa. Then partnership, form of business. How does it work? For example, you are all colleagues here in the class. You discover that from your relationship or your interaction with your peers, your classmates, you discover that that guy is interested in doing business, right? You can combine together to register a business, right? Two, as from two people. I think the limit, the highest is got the 10 or this thing or 21, I will check it out for you, right? Then you can combine together to run a partnership business, right? So that partnership business needs to have a kind of an agreement, right? In terms of the how you need to perhaps must include how you need to contribute money, how you need to share profit, your roles and responsibilities in the business. Right? Okay. So when we are talking in terms of liabilities, because that is where I'm driving at, liabilities. What do we mean by liabilities in this context? Liabilities means debt. You know what I mean by debt? When you are owed. Yeah. You see, so we are talking in terms of liabilities. We got two concepts that one could characterize liabilities. We have limited liabilities and unlimited liabilities. Limited liabilities and unlimited liabilities. What does these two concepts means? When we say somebody have got, or when we say a business have got limited liabilities, what it means is that when they are business own, right, the debt that business is owing, their responsibility, their liability to pay for that debt is limited to what they invested in the business. I will try to explain it in another form that could make you to understand. If you got a company, for example, at a certain point in time, perhaps the business is running into liquidation. What do we mean by liquidation? Or insolvent. That business is unable to pay its debt. If a business is operator is unable to pay its debt, what's gonna be the best bet? The business needs to close. Do you understand what I mean? That business needs to file for what we call bankruptcy, liquidation, so that for the business to close. So if it is a company, remember, a company doesn't just, it's people that are running a company. People register the company, right? Okay. When you register a company, it became, or it becomes, okay, let me put it this way, a legal entity. Legal entity. What does it mean by legal entity? Huh? Legal entity. Okay, I will explain to you. When you incorporate a business or you register a business, based, if it's a company, that company itself have the same right like a human being. That is what we say legal entity. It has the same right like a human being. It's on its own. So when that business is failing, if you are unable, if the company is unable to pay the debt, the law court will say they must sell what the business have owned to pay the debt. That means the liability of the directors are limited to whatever they invested in the business, not to the extent of going to their house to sell their houses. Because that business, it got that legal status of legal entity. Does it make sense to you? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Do you understand? Okay. If it is a partnership business, the liability is unlimited. So, what it means is when you've got a partnership business, you are more or less vulnerable, right? You are vulnerable to such an extent that if you are unable to pay your debt, they will go to your house and sell your properties. If what you've got in the business is unable to pay, if they can take your pens, right, your Fabiani clothes, they will sell your Fabiani clothes. They will sell it to pay your debtors. Did you see? So that is how it works. When we talk about liability, if it is limited, that means whatever they're going to sell is only limited to what is put in the business. Whatever you use the name of the business to buy, not what you use the name. Maybe perhaps you use the name of your wife or your children to buy your property, to buy any property. They don't touch those ones. Did you see? But if it is partnership, they will go after your property. Right. So private business, like I said, this one have got limited liability. That is why many people they prefer to register, incorporate their business under this platform, private. But all of them got their own advantages and disadvantages. Because here, I'm telling you, the tax rate is very high. There are a lot of expenses to run this type of business, right? Public companies and companies that are providing public goods, public utility, right? Those are big, big companies. So when you look at here, look at again the questions that was posed. Dash is a form of ownership that has unlimited liabilities. This one got unlimited liability. This one got limited. This one got limited. This one we don't use it again, right? Here, this one is the partnership. Does it make sense to you? So when somebody talk about liabilities now, you know it's debt. So if you want to incorporate your business, perhaps you need to look into this. Whether it's gonna be partnership with unlimited liabilities, or you incorporate the business as a company where your liabilities will be limited. All got pros and cons. Right. Okay. I'm gonna talk more now because I know you haven't done it much, right? Let me go back now. When you look at partnership business, what are the advantages and disadvantages? When you look at it. For example, when you got partnership business, of course, the process of decision making will not be so it will be fast because you are just two people or three people or four people. It's not a lot, right? The expenses in running the business is not a lot, right? Because, for example, now in a private company, at the end of the year, they need audited financial statement. Audited financial statement, how does it work? You prepare your financial statement, and auditor must have to have a look to see that what you put down is correct. You say, this is the income that is generated, my sales for the year, this is my gross profit, this is my net profit. All right? Well, do government want it to be audited? Because they want to see, because some people can talk lies. And what is the government interested in? Is the tax, the profit you make, so that it can be taxed. You see? For example, now, if you got a registered private company whereby you do job with the government, you do tenders, tenderings, let me put it that way, tendering. You know what is tendering? You do, government wants to, uh, maybe they want a supplier of product and services, right? Then you fall within the realm of your business. Then you can, they advertise for quotation, or it could be expression of interest. Then you take the document, you fill, you put the prices and everything you give, submit it to the government. So if your price is the best price, then they call you, say supply that thing. Perhaps after a month, 30 days, they pay you. You know, there are a lot of companies doing that, right? They rely on the government. They are supplier of goods and services to the government, right? Which is a very good way for one to start a business, which is good, right? But if your business is PTY, this one we call it PTY, PTY. This is PLC. If your business is PTY, now at the end of the year, the government wants to see your financial statement, right? Yes. And if you don't know how to prepare a financial statement, it's a problem. You need to involve the service of somebody that is qualified. You need to pay that person. Right. Okay, what I'm trying to say is that to run a PTY company, there are a lot of expenses. Right. But let's look at it from another perspective. Right. For partnership, they will always have limited capital. Limited capital. Because the money they will have will only be restricted to the ones that you and your friend put together. Right. Although in some cases, they could be able to borrow money, but not as much, right? But when you have a PTY company, PTY, you can have a lot of members, right? So remember, a PTY has a legal entity. It's like a human being, right? On his own, that got the right to borrow money. Although it has to be signed up by the directors. Here you got membership, right? Here you got directors. The ones that are running PTY, they call directors. Here you got membership, right? So this one, they can obtain loans at a higher scale more than the one with partnership. Moreover, they can advertise, if they will need finance, they can advertise for shares, selling shares of their company to shareholders, interested shareholders to buy, of which they have a higher headroom of getting capital, of acquiring capital than a small one. We're going to do it in detail, right? The pros and cons. PSC. So, of course, the answer there is partnership. This one we don't just say, this one is very easy, right? But in the exam, you must be careful. They can write it for you and just omit a small thing, the spelling, give you a wrong spelling. But you that doesn't look carefully, you just say, I say this one is correct. Then you pick it. And at the end of the day, right? Yeah. SWAT. You know it. Okay. Sometimes they can say opportunity without saying opportunities. Then you're gonna say, yeah. So then they will say opportunity or opportunities. Then if you don't know it very well, you get confused. You say the two look similar, right? They may look similar, but the correct answer must be specific. Okay. The need to satisfy hunger, thirst, and have oxygen is called what? Can you survive without an oxygen? Oxygen. You know oxygen? Oxygen. How do you pronounce it? Yeah. What is it? Uh, what is it? This one. What is it? This. Yeah. What is it in the ordinary sense of it? That is air. Yeah. The air. You see, as we are sitting here now, if this air is intoxicated, you see all of us gonna be falling down. Did you see? The air, you see, that is why I say God is wonderful. Without this air, you can't survive. You know, did I tell you this story? Perhaps it's possible I must have tell you, maybe I've told you this story before. There was this rich man, right? This guy was very rich, very wealthy, got money. When we say somebody is rich, this guy was really wealthy, right? He was old. All of a point, he became sick. You know, no matter who you are subject to the nature, man. Then he became sick. He went to the hospital. Then they treated. He was almost to the point of death. Then, by the grace of God, they were able to revive him. Now, when he came to his senses, the doctor have to give him, because those, those type of people, they got private hospital, private doctor and all those type of stuff. Then he asked of the bill, right? Then they gave him the bill. The old man started crying. He started crying when he saw the bill. Then they were wondering, say, what is happening now? Then later he came to his consciousness. He said, let me tell you something, my son, my dear. He said, what this amount you charge me now, because they put oxygen in his body because he couldn't breathe. Then he asked the guy, why is this amount so much like this, as if it has been escalated? Then they say, you see, we put oxygen in your body for so many days, for so days. So this is how much we charge for oxygen for a day per hour. The man said, you see why I'm crying? He said, you look at me now. You know how old I am. He said, throughout these years, God has been giving me oxygen for free without charging me money. For these few hours now, you gave me this, you beat me like this. He said that was why he was crying, that himself is feeling guilty now that all these years, God have provided him with oxygen free without paying for it. So oxygen, so what is the moral sense of that? You know the moral sense of it? We must always be grateful. Did you see? When you breathe in air now, you think it's cheap. It's got no value. But the time that you will not be able to breathe in, your lungs is not working properly, of which they will require artificial machine to give you that energy, the oxygen, I mean. Then you know that God is wonderful, right? So anyhow, that is that. Let's come back to our context. So the things that you cannot do without, like Maslow. Maslow was a great philosopher. Maslow is dead long time ago, but we are still talking about Maslow as if he's somebody of yesterday, right? Because of his classification, he did a brilliant work, amazing work for classifying the needs of people into relevant categories, right? So, based on Maslow, the things that you cannot do without, he classified them as under what? Physiological needs, right? Social needs is different, where you socialize. Security needs is different, where you talk about safetiness. Status and esteem needs is where you have arrived. You want to be associated, you know. You want to be endorsed or be the one to endorse people. You are in a certain class. Those ones are not necessities, right? You can as well do away with those ones. But the one under this, you cannot. Right. Then, which of the following is an example of a government organization? The government organization, right? Is Vodacom a government organization? Vodacom. You know Vodacom. Vodacom is a company. Doesn't belong. It's not a government organization. What about MTN? Huh? What about Transnet? Huh? You tell me what was your answer here? You know SPSA. This one is an NGO stuff. Yeah. What is SPSA? Is this one that is looking after the animals? What did you get it? Did you get it? Is this Transnet is a government stuff? Yeah. Transnet. This one is looking after the animals. This one is MTN. This is Vodacom. Is this one, right? Transnet belong to the government. That is why you see if there's a problem, we always throw stone on the government. Why this thing you don't provide these services? The train is not working, the rail is not working, you know, all those type of stuff. Right. You see, if they have said non-governmental organization, you take this SPS. Now, what is this? Survey. You know what is a survey? Methods of conducting a survey, right? They say methods because when you look at some of the options, they are survey related, but they are not methods, right? That could cause a little bit of confusion to some of you. You say, hey, bar chart, the teacher taught us about bar chart when we were doing survey. Bar chart, yeah, I know about it. But these are bar chart and bar chart are analysis output, right? So the question here and there is the one that is relevant, the most appropriate one. Does it make sense to you? You know what is a questionnaire? No? Yeah. But in your task, most of you couldn't know how to design a good questionnaire. And that is why when you look at the marks that most of you scored in your task, it was not appealing, right? But next time, you're going to get over that. Don't worry. Having a surfboard, this was the one we were talking about, the girl, right? Having a surfboard is an example of, you know, surfboard. Have you got one? Yeah. No, have you got one yourself? Have you got one? Would you like to have one? Oh, you know somebody that have got. But yourself, would you love to have one? If I give you this thing could be more, I don't know. It should be expensive. right? To buy a surfboard, I don't think it's cheap. Have you seen, you know somebody that got one, right? Okay. So it's not a necessity. It's not something that is necessary. It's a luxury, right? That is what we are trying to talk about there. Okay, look at this. Matching columns. I think majority of you had this correct, right? Matching column. Choose an item from column B that matches a description in column A. Okay. Example of a secondary industry. Secondary industry. This one is easy. The options are very easy for you to know. Tangible. You know what is tangibility? Tangible means something you can see. Something you can see. We are talking about industry now. Huh? Industry. Industry. Right? What construction is it? What construction? Construction is a secondary industry. Primary industries. We are talking about mines that has to do with the natural resources to extract it from the natural origin, from where it is, the way it is, without yet adding value, processing it. Does it make sense to you? Right? That is secondary. Construction industry. Construction industry is processing, for example, you see the wood, they make a house, right? Something that has to do with extracting the raw material. That is primary. For example, agriculture is primary. Mining is primary. Does it make sense to you? Is the period over now? Long time. So you want us to stop here or what? Okay. Okay. So let's stop here.